Last week's Hands on Gardening, we were talking about how to select the proper tree for your yard and your soil. This week we want to talk about how to properly plant a tree. Now, joining me is Joyce Zielecki from the UW Extension Office. And Joyce, a couple of things you got to remember. Probably first and foremost is to call Digger's Hotline. You don't want to be digging holes in your yard when you're not sure where utility lines or phone cables
That's right.
are.
You want to make sure you don't hit anything, and it's the law, too, to call. Second, you need to determine the size of your root ball. Take a look at the tree you bought. And you're going to want to dig a hole with the surface area at least 2 to 3 times the size of this root ball.
To let those roots spread out.
That's right. Most of the tree's roots are in the top 18 inches of the soil. It's kind of a myth that they have deep tap roots. Most trees do not.
Okay.
So make sure you have a nice wide hole.
And speaking of depth, you don't want to plant the tree too deep. You want to look for the root collar, which is this area right here, or where the first root meets the trunk.
Right.
And how high should that be above the soil line?
That needs to be 1 to 2 inches above the soil line. Again, planting too deep can kill a tree, so make sure that root collar is at least 1 to 2 inches above the soil line.
Okay.
Very important.
And in terms of getting this compact ball of roots to spread out, how do you do that?
You want to take a knife or your fingers, your hand, and make sure all the roots are spread apart. You may feel like you're hurting the tree, but you're not. You're actually helping it.
If you don't do that, they'll continue to grow in circles.
That's right, and they could eventually circle around the tree and choke it off.
And once the tree's been put in place, you put the dirt over it. Don't tap the dirt into place. Just let it sit. Give it a good watering. It should have water about 1 inch per week.
1 inch per week.
Until the ground freezes.
Right, and then it should take off and do great for you.
All righty, thank you very much. That is today's Hands on Gardening. The important thing to remember is when you plant it, make sure that that skirt that she was talking about stays above. You don't want to cover that because it doesn't affect the tree early on, but as the tree gets older, that's when it happens. And then so you end up with this tree that's maturing and all of a sudden dies. Well, that's one of the reasons why. So always be careful about that. And then it's okay to get a little rough with that root ball. You can pound on it a little bit and just to get the roots loosened up. You're not really going to hurt it.
You know, and make sure you pay attention to what the water flow is in your yard too, because if you have some wetter areas, you can't just plant anything you want. You're going to have to put a water-loving tree there. Pay attention to those things. And when you first put a tree up, if you have a lot of deer in your area, make sure you get one of the tree guards because they'll like all the bark on that tree too.
They will. And one of the things that we didn't mention here but would be a very good idea is get your soil tested first so that you know what kind of tree will thrive. If you have a more acidic soil or you have a more alkaline soil, that can have an influence on the particular tree that you choose.
All right, well, stay with us. Back in just a moment.